Today we're talking about bizarre shopping behavior or habits. I'm starting for the premise of if you're shopping without need, you're basically engaging in a bizarre behavior, and I'm almost relating that to food. Basically, if you're eating without being hungry, which is something that only humans or animals that are in contact with humans do, then that would be bizarre animal behavior. So I'm just thinking about shopping from that standpoint, but it's just hard for me to make this leap. Let me know if you think this is too much of a leap. It's almost like shopping is the new hunting and gathering. It is something that's deeply ingrained in us. I saw a video of this woman actually today. It's a couple days after it was released on Ramit Sethi's podcast. I was catching up on my YouTube this morning, and the way I'll talk about more after you watch it.
I grew up poor. Spending usually only happens at the grocery store. Like that's my big spending area, and I'm in charge of the grocery. So I'll go and I'll find everything that's on special and I'll stock it in our cabinets. And sometimes it goes bad before we can even use it. But I get a thrill out of finding the sale and stocking up our cabinets and knowing we've got months of food. Like we will survive. Going to the grocery store and hunting down deals, like it is costing me time.
Do you spend more than you planned?
Always. I go to the store with like 20 items on the list and I walk out with like 50.
How many times would you go per week?
Like at least 4.
So you're spending $500 a week, roughly $2,000 a month?
We're spending about half of that. So some stores I just go in, like I get a couple things.
Cameron, have you ever noticed this?
Yes, definitely.
What'd you say about it?
I don't know. I would say that I've told Laura, like, you bring home a lot. We don't need all this, but it's also an activity that she really enjoys to go out and get all this food.
You didn't realize that our fridge is packed to the gills.
Yes,
and I go to the store when we don't need anything.
The interesting thing about this is her big outlet, her big ability to shop, to hunt, to gather is through grocery shopping. And I totally relate to this because I feel like if left unconsidered and I don't really think about it, I would spend so much money on groceries. I could really rack up a lot of money on groceries. Just for context, this woman is part of the FIRE movement, financially independent, retire early. So she is saving a lot of money, or as much as she can, living very frugally so that she can go and be coast-fi, which means that she has enough saved up for retirement that money will compound and grow. And she doesn't need to add anything additional. So she could quit her job. She could do work that she likes. She could work part-time while that money is compounding and she doesn't have to worry about future her being taken care of. But present her is really having to live minimally, basically survive on as little as possible, which means not doing vacations. They're not going, and this is her husband and her husband's a little less into the finances than she is, but he, I think, understands and agrees with the general principle that she's going for. They have a 4-year-old daughter as well. So things need to shift in the amount of money they're spending because they're living these lives that are so frugal that they're not actually enjoying themselves. Anyway, the point is that you can tell that this kind of hoarding mindset, yes, food, like I'm the same way. I want my groceries to be stacked, intact, I want everything I want. And if I don't have it, it's a problem. I would want to go back and forth to the grocery store and getting everything I want, but I really try to limit it to a certain amount of voyages to the grocery store, basically. I'm not quite where she is on hoarding things. I don't want food to go bad. I don't really let food go bad, but I really have that impulse to have all the things that I want around me all the time. And I understand that she and I, for instance, don't spend money on things. We're not going out shopping. We're not going to buy random things because it's fall, that kind of behavior. But when it comes to the almost okay spending categories, which of course is always groceries, so food, health foods, fitness, those kind of things, you spend a little more and you can often go a little crazier. But in my past, and I thought it was only in my past, I had this pattern of shopping that I really think is bizarre when I think about it now, but I cannot be the only one. I cannot be the special snowflake who just had this in her mind and is the only one who experienced this. And I feel like the video kind of helps me realize that I am not the only one who probably does this, but I'm going to just go through the 4 things I used to do and realize that I probably still do when I shop. The first phase is that I'll have an obsession with a certain style or an item. So in the past, it was always boots. Boots will come up and I'll use that as my example later. But boots, ponchos when I was younger, menswear, so vests, a couple different eras. I was obsessed with vests. And let me look at my list. What else? Long coats and then booties. This was I don't know. Again, everything is very much early 2000s, but these were tan booties and they weren't Victorian, but they just looked a little old school. I don't know. They're lace up too. Somebody, if you know what I'm talking about, please put it in the comments because I cannot remember if they actually had a name for it. I remember my friend saying that it was basically standard issue in Brooklyn, everybody had these boots. And of course I wanted them to. Anyway, so you have an obsession about an item. And you think about it, I was constructing outfits. I am like out here, like, what do I need to make this look come off right? So I was very much in my head thinking about this, dreaming about items of clothing. Like, it's insane. Then I would hunt for the item. So I would leave upstate New York, come down and visit my friend in the city, probably see other women wearing the style that I was obsessing about, and just on a rampage looking for anything I could find that was like this item. So I would go all 5 boroughs, let's just pretend. I would go everywhere, and especially Brooklyn and in Manhattan, but I would go to flea markets, I would go to the actual stores I couldn't afford, just to like see if the item was there. So we're just shopping all day. And when I shopped, I would not be hungry at all. I was hunting, right? This is a hunting and gathering mission. Appetite suppressed. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything other than find this item. The next phase is that I'd be looking for hours. Like, we'd be out and about for hours looking for, in my mind, I was probably focused. My friends were probably shopping for their own things, I imagine, just because I can't imagine they were just fine. I remember once they were maybe following me from store to store, just like, can we do something else? And I was like, no, we're good. But I think usually they were also engaged in the shopping pursuit of their own. I would find something that approximated what I wanted, and it would always be off in some way. So it would always be like either too big or too small. It was a little too expensive. It was never too cheap, because in my 20s, making less than $30,000 a year, probably if it was cheap enough but kind of fit, like, I was gonna buy it. Price was probably just a little too high. Just something about it was just not right. And then the final phase, after much deliberation, would be to just buy it and usually never wear it. In the early 2000s, when the trend of having your boots like be over your jeans, your jeans were in your boots kind of thing, although it was like coming off of the 90s and whatever, where, everybody's wearing bootcut jeans. So it was very hard for me to find what I wanted, but I was obsessed with finding the right boots because I wear a size 11. So it's hard to find boots that fit anyway. And finally I found these riding boots, and I don't know if they almost look like police boots. They had little tabs to pull on. They were very bare bones. And again, that fits a little bit because I definitely could get my bootcut jeans in there. Like, I could find a way to tack things down and make it look like I had skinny jeans on. So I found the boots after hours of looking around and proceeded to deliberate for what was probably an hour. For me back then, $100 was going to be expensive. So I just remember thinking, if I buy these, I can't spend any more money until my next paycheck. So definitely living paycheck to paycheck at that point. But I remember agonizing over this because it was going to be really tight, too much month left and not enough money kind of thing. But I ended up buying them, of course, even though they were definitely too big and they weren't really right. Like, they were definitely riding boots. So they had this kind of like, they're very structured, but the area where the calf would fit in, it was very outbowing. So it was a little too, I don't know, it would be just too fashionable for where I was living in upstate New York. I was living in Albany actually, but I had to have them. I had to like put a cap. Like, there's no way I could go back to Albany without this thing in tow. And I never wore them. I never ever wore them. I moved them around with me everywhere I moved over the subsequent years, which was all over the country. And I finally sold them when I had my financial awakening and I realized I could make money for these, and I did probably $100 or $150 on like eBay or something. But that's the whole sequence of events. I would just like obsess, hunt, find some lesser item, buy it, and never wear it. And this I did with probably every item that I listed, like the brogues, the booties, all the things. Like, I remember buying some booties in New York that were size 12, too big. I was like, oh, I'll wear socks with them. When you actually take them home and they just don't fit right, and it's just not right. So you just don't wear them. I have done this in the past and I thought I was done with it. And then I realized that I'm not done with it, because when I bought this house, I proceeded to just shop. Everything I wanted for the house, I bought. I think the only thing that I really messed up on was like my bedside tables that I put together myself, and I put one together wrong. And then I was like, I hate these. So I went on Facebook Marketplace actually and bought new ones that were awesome and fixed really well. But it's still that impulse and find what I need and hunt it and gather it. And I have to do it in a very short amount of time. I have to get this done or I won't be settled. I won't be happy. I think that's probably bizarre. Instead of just letting pieces come and being okay, like I said, I should be in the beginning, okay with having an undecorated house until I found the right pieces. I'm actually really happy with how everything turned out. I am really happy with the decorating I did, but it was still, I lost myself in that shopping I have to have mentality. So it's very much still present in me. And then the other part, what I realized when I was looking at the last thing I bought before I bought my house, and that was this sweater that I'll put a picture of, but it was this sweater that I was just out with my mother looking at stores, which is never a good idea. And I came across this thing and I bought it. I have never worn it, you guys. The tag is on it, you saw. So wonder to myself, why the impulse shopping? Like, why do I buy something that is pretty, I mean, to me, it's expensive. Like, some people have different ideas, but this, like, to spend I think it's like $59 after taxes and everything on this little sweater tank, I don't know what you call it, that I've never worn is crazy to me. Is it something that I was doing for past Chrissy, like, you know, teenage Chrissy who just can't believe you can afford what you can afford? Did I just really want to buy something and feel like somebody who can buy something expensive? I don't know, but it's just nice to be able to like wonder and look and examine and try not to do the same thing again. Because I thought I was done buying things that are too small for me or that I just don't think I'd wear. At least that sweater is not something that's too small or there's something wrong with it. It was just an impulse buy on something I don't need. And I really don't want to be doing that anymore. I haven't bought shoes in a while that don't fit or don't work, but it was in the last kind of 2 years where I definitely did buy like a, you know, I feel like DSW is the place for shoes that don't quite work, but you buy them anyway. Anyway, I again thought I outgrew it, but I didn't. And so it led me to really want to consider my shopping habits so that I don't repeat them. So just a couple of tips that I think are important so that we don't continue to engage in our own version of bizarre shopping habits, which is of course the basis of is if we are shopping without needing, we are engaging in bizarre shopping, okay? So the first thing would be, obviously you can't just be going to stores. You can't just be looking around and then kind of inviting yourself to want something. Have other things that you do that do not involve going from store to store or just looking without needing. I also think that it's important to look at your last few purchases, and if it's clothing that is your problem, you're looking at that. If it's home goods type things or like TJ Maxx type things, which can involve everything, you want to just look at your last, let's say 10 purchases. And if you can't remember them, it might be time to start keeping a running list of the things that you buy so that you can be aware. Now, if finance is important to you or becoming more important to you, if you've had issues with finance in the past, I advise that just to have an idea of what you've been spending on. And then I want you to look at those purchases with a critical eye and just see what things, like was 90% that you're excited you bought, that you're still like, I would buy that again? Is it 50%? Is it even less? I think that's an important thing to consider. And if it is that you are excited about every purchase and they were necessary and that you weren't giving something else up that you ultimately want, as in having a goal, like you want to go to Greece, you want to pay for your child's birthday party, you want to save up for a house, or you have another savings goal. If that purchase was good enough to not ruin that future goal, then it's good to know. But have that reason that is so present in your mind that makes you not want to buy little things. And that for me, of course, is like having a new, debt, basically. Having my mortgage has made me not want to buy frivolously. I buy things that I need right now, but I haven't bought clothes again since October, whatever it was, when I bought that sweater that I'm going to wear. So you have a reason not to buy on every women fancy. You have that savings goal. You have that trip you want to take. Whatever it is more important than the little things that you might spend money on. When I'm in debt, whether it's mortgage or student loans, I am much more tight with my spending because I do feel like I owe somebody something. And, with a whole house, it's like something can just go wrong, as it does every day, where it's just like, I'm gonna just spend on replacing that weird light bulb that's gonna cost a lot of money. My toilet needs to be fixed still. Like those kind of things keep me from shopping. And then of course I just have a closet full of clothes that I never wear, so I don't need anything. Always give yourself distance between the impulse to shop and what you're buying. I had just thought about it and thought like that sweater, no one else is going to spend that much on that little like sleeveless sweater. That makes no sense. It's going to be there. If you still want it tomorrow, come back and get it. But as much distance as you can take between what you're buying and the thought of buying and what you buy is just best. I'll always say this. I'll say it once. I'll say it again. Don't pop out to the stores, okay? We're staying our asses at home, okay? We are not going shopping. We're not seeing what's out there. We're not window shopping. We're not faire du lèche vitrine. We are not doing any of that. That's French for window shopping, by the way. It's just so dangerous for your wallet, and it's just not a good habit or pastime. It's just a downfall of civilization, damn it. So don't do it. I feel like this is really helpful because there are things that I of course want. 2 years ago, it was having onesies, probably influenced by my patients, my little babies in their onesies. A year ago or so, it was barrel jeans. I still kind of want them, but then I'm just like, I don't know. I don't even wear the jeans that I have. So what's the point? And yeah, just examine your bizarre shopping behaviors. Examine the things that you have bought that you really didn't need. Try to think about why that was, why it was that you bought that thing you didn't need, especially if it's something that you didn't really use or is just sitting in your house collecting dust as another thing in your life taking up space. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. You guys like, subscribe, watch my video about why you can't stop shopping, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.